What is going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. I'm also the Director of Research at LeDuc Trading. It is January 5th, 2021. It is my birthday today. I'm actually 28 years old today. So probably once I finish this up, I'm going to go, get some dinner with my girlfriend, just hang out, have a drink, and just reflect on how old I am now. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content. And I will continue to make it for you. Today we're going to be talking about the price action of the indices, the volatility. We're going to go under the hood as we always do and check out the sectors and style factors. We're going to look at some of the trades I took, including a very interesting FUBO trade. And then we'll wrap up with some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last, but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. So with that being said, let's dive right in. I'm going to try to make this a rather quick market recap. I always say that and then I just babble on. So let's take a quick look. We're going to check out our ES futures. And for our box scores today, we had S&P 500 up 0.69%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ up 0.82%. We had the small caps bouncing back up 1.55%. And we had the Dow Jones up 0.5%. And you can see yesterday was a pretty scary day. All those ominous predictions coming out because of one red day in the markets. You can see we're working with a very slim monthly value area, so it's not going to take much for us to slice right through it. So you can see yesterday we sliced through the monthly value area high, we sliced through the 20-day simple moving average, we sliced through the point of control, we actually sliced through the 5-day EMA also, and today we actually reclaimed a lot of those levels, which is a good thing. So we auctioned all the way down to the point of control. We didn't make it all the way down to yesterday's low, which is a good sign. And then buyers came in and auctioned us up, and we closed right above that 5-day exponential moving average. So it's kind of crazy because with where we are, and like I said, how slim this value area is, things can change from like bullish to bearish very quickly. But as of right now, things are looking okay. So we'll just have to roll with that. And then if we look at the Qs, we're going to see a very similar picture. Let's take a look. Yeah, and you can see very similar. The Qs didn't even auction down to their point of control, showing some relative strength. And we closed just slightly above that 5-day exponential moving average. So I think one of the things that's important in markets is to be able to change your bias very quickly. So, the past couple days, I'd been taking stops on positions just because I wanted to make sure, if we do slip into the abyss, I want to make sure that my account is protected. But now, today we're above the monthly value area high and above all the key moving averages. So in terms of the trend, it's looking okay in the short term. Let's see. And then for IWM, this is pretty noteworthy, I think. So the IWM was one that did not make it above the monthly value area high. And, that's a big change from the past month or two where the small caps were really leading us. So although on the surface it looks like, oh, the IWM small caps, they were up more than everything else, they must be the most bullish. In terms of the trend, the IWM small caps got stopped right at resistance. And weren't able to auction above. So that's a little bit of a change in character that we're seeing, where small caps are no longer leading us. And then the Dow Jones continues in its boring fashion of just continuing to move sideways. So nothing really has changed here, but this one also above the monthly value area high and above the 5-day exponential moving average. So now let's take a look. We'll check out under the hood at some of these sectors and style factors and see what we had for today. So you can see here, these Chinese internet names are showing incredible strength. We have gold miners, which were at the bottom of our list for the past month or two, have moved into one of the top slots, taking a little bit of a break today after a crazy day yesterday, down 0.03%. Solar energy continues to outperform, up another 1%. Now, let's see, semis had a good day. This was pretty much like a turnaround Tuesday. A really nice day for the markets. Then you can see at the bottom of our list, we have utilities, real estate, and aerospace and defense. I guess that makes sense. Like if you think there's going to be a blue sweep, maybe they won't emphasize the military, that sort of thing. So I guess I can see why that's in the bottom slot. And yeah, some of the leaders, like if you look at these Chinese internet names, we had FUBO was the big winner for today. This one just went absolutely bonkers, up 19%, just having a ridiculous day on high volume. So this one will be on my watch list, but I'm certainly not entering it up here, that's for sure. Let's see, JD also had a really nice day. Yeah, 10.62%, also on high volume. Let's see, 10 cent, also a really nice day. This one looks more like something I would enter, where we're just getting that breakout out of consolidation. That's a bit of a slower mover. Yeah, Pinduoduo also. Yeah, these things really, like, the bulls really blew their brains out on these Chinese internet names. Really good. And that's an area I'm actually like underexposed to. So I've been trading Baidu to the bull side quite frequently. I've hit a bunch of winners there, but I would definitely say for this Chinese internet move, I am under positioned there. But when that happens and you are under positioned, at least for myself, I want to make sure I don't just chase something because it's up big and all that. So I have to remain disciplined. But the thing is, like, you're not going to catch every single move. So I just have to be cognizant of that. And just, take it as a learning experience for the future. Then let's take a look. We'll bring up our style factors. And you can see here in terms of style factors, the high beta style factor was the top performer. So what's really strange is, in the headlines, it's like, oh, COVID wave 2, everybody's shutting down again, super, super scary. And then for our leaders today, it's high beta and cyclicals. And I've actually been noticing that. This is something I've just noticed observing the markets for the last year or so. It seems that whenever those scary COVID headlines come up again, that's when you get cyclicals and high beta, just going through the roof, outperforming. So it's almost like this big like smokescreen head fake that they always go for these things, when the headlines are the worst. So kind of counterintuitive there. That's just something I've noticed. And then for some trades, some things on the watch list, Expedia, this is one that I have some July calls and some Jan 2022 calls. And I've been entering this position, back here. And, I've talked about this in the market recap videos where like, oh yeah, this point of control, the buyers can't bring it lower. I started seeing some options activity. And to me, it just makes sense that the travel industry should have a bit of a boom, once this COVID vaccine is rolled out. So this trade is finally starting to pay for me, which is awesome. This was definitely one, like I'm sure most traders can relate to this, where when I put this trade on, I was like, this is such a high percentage trade. We have a nice high base here. There's a good, story behind this stock and a reason why it should move higher. Then I started seeing the options activity, bought it before it came out of the base. So like everything just like lined up for this trade. And I think something I want to be a little cognizant of / like maybe change up a little bit in the future is that when I get one of these like pitches that in my opinion is just like such a nice pitch, I might want to increase my size a little bit. I'm pretty disciplined in terms of my sizing. Now as I'm developing more as a trader and, being consistently profitable, I want to start thinking about things like, I've heard some really good traders talk about this where like the more edges you have in your trade, maybe size a little bit bigger. And then when something is, not as, not meeting all of your criteria, maybe size that, like a little bit smaller. So that's something I'm going to be thinking about, because this one, was an A+ setup for me when I put it on. And you can see here there's a VPOC up at 147. So I'll be watching out for that in terms of a place to, maybe take a target. So I'm going to really quickly set an alert up here. It's another reason why I love doing the market recap videos with you guys, because it gets me to think out loud in terms of like things I could be better at, things I need to work on too. So we have that. Another one, CMLF is one that I entered today. This is another SPAC idea. And now I finally feel comfortable with the SPACs that I do have on the books. I have maybe like 5 to 8. I'm in almost like every single Chamath SPAC that hasn't moved. I'm in my Apollo SPAC. I'm in INAC, the auto insurance SPAC. I'm in Blade. And these are all just ones, like I've sifted through a bunch of different SPACs. And I'm like, these are ones that I want to have on. Just in case any one of them really makes a big move. But this one just really interested me. This is one that Anthony O'Hyan brought up from Pounding the Table. It's like one of my favorite podcasts. And Anthony's just like a super smart markets guy. So I always, if he brings something up and he's super bullish, I usually do take a look. Because he's just, a very smart guy. Let's see, I posted it in my chat over here. Where the heck is it? Okay, here it is. Take a look at this. A special purpose acquisition company targeting the life science companies that enable and support innovation. Kasdan Capital. You can see here, this is like good marketing in my opinion, where this is the opportunity. They point out like the TAM for some of these industries that they're targeting. I just like the way this investor relations is laid out. And it's very organized in terms of like the strategy laid out very clearly. And a lot of these areas that they're looking to make an acquisition in are very high growth areas that have been getting a lot of money from investors. And I'm really just trying to follow the money. So this is something where, okay, I know they're going to make an acquisition in this space. I think the team's pretty good based on what I'm reading. So you can see prior to founding Kasdan, Mr. Kasdan was a vice president at Alliance Bernstein's thematic-based investment group. And for these SPACs, I'm really looking for, like a long-term thematic investment. The Black Book, The Dawn of Molecular Medicine, co-authored by Mr. Kasdan, details the early yet already accelerating wave of innovation in life sciences and the next wave of investment opportunities. So, I mean, this, in terms of like the person to accomplish this goal, it seems like a pretty good candidate. It's not just some like, oh, I work in private equity and like I just have a lot of money and I, run these businesses and whatever. This guy seems like he's sort of like a forward thinker. And he's been on the board of Invitae, a bunch of other companies. I know Invitae has been a smashing success, and really a market darling. So this one interests me, big time. So I'm like, there's no way I can't not add a position to this SPAC. That's how I felt about it. Like, knowing what I know, if I were to not add a position, then this thing takes off later, I'd be like, why did I not do that? There's been so many opportunities in the markets where I see the opportunity. I'm sure everybody has had this. You see the opportunity clear as day. You don't put the trade on, and then it moves later, and you're like, why didn't I put it on? So this is one where, I'm wrong all the time in investing. So if I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. And maybe this thing goes from $11 to the floor at 10 and I'll just take my loss. But if I'm right, hopefully, maybe this one makes a move. And I know if I didn't enter and I was right, I would just be kicking myself. So it's like, I got to enter this thing. So I put on a position here. And then the other one that I did, this is a pretty interesting one, FUBO. So I try not to troll too much on Twitter, but I did put out kind of like a trollish tweet. because I saw my whole feed like buzzing about FUBO this morning. And FUBO had a nice, press release saying they were going to be raising their guidance and, some good results. And I saw everybody tweeting like, oh yeah, FUBO, like, yeah, we're getting the bounce. Like, I'm making so much money on this stock. So I put out, like, I'm just glad everyone caught the low in FUBO and nobody's underwater on their position. Because it's like, come on now. Like, you're telling me nobody bought on this candle, on this candle, on this candle, on this candle, or on this one, this one, this one, this one. Like, everyone bought the bottom. That's kind of like besides the point. That was just me kind of being like tongue in cheek. But anyway, this stock really is a battleground stock. Because you can see, like, this one, when it catches momentum, had a crazy run. A lot of people, a lot of really smart people, like Peru Saxena, he's super bullish on this stock. There's a lot of other, like Andrew Friedman from Hedge Eye is very bearish. This, in my opinion, is a battleground stock. So what I'm noticing, the implied volatility in the options is insane. It's like 150% volatility. Yeah, I see the IV, 170%. So the options are priced for this thing to continue to have really big moves. But when I look at it, I'm like, okay, we had a crash, essentially. Like, we had a boom, we had a bust. What happens if this thing just hangs out, like in the high 20s, like it was for a while? So I actually bought a butterfly expiring January 15th. I got the 25, 31, 37 strike butterfly. I spent like $1.40 for it. And there's the potential to, for that $1.40 to turn into about $6. So it's definitely one where this thing could certainly fall off a cliff. And, if there's selling pressure, there's a VPOC down here at $15, in which case, like, my trade's not going to work. Same thing if it goes super bullish, and breaks this 20-day moving average, my trade's not going to work. The only way it's going to work is if we kind of just move sideways. And when I'm thinking about all the players in this stock, I'm even seeing people on my Twitter feed like, oh, I have the 35 strike calls, I have the 40 strike calls. And then there's people that are, probably late shorts to this thing too. So I'm like, the most pain would probably be inflicted right now if this thing just did nothing into options expiration. So I put that trade on. We'll see what happens. That one, again, it's a low probability trade, but a high payout, if it works. And then PayPal is another one I put on. PayPal, just in a nice bullish trend. And this one you can see broke out above the monthly value area high. So I bought some March calls in PayPal, slightly in the money. I believe I bought like the 230 strike. So we'll see what happens with that one as well. J&J is one that I have on. I have the February. I believe I bought the 155 strike calls. And J&J is looking really interesting. At one point today I was like, should I dump J&J? It's not doing anything. And then, the buyers came back in and bid this thing up. And J&J has been consolidating for months and is finally starting to make a little bit of a move. So I have this target level here at about like 159 or 160. My system's kind of like moving on me. So I'm going to create an alert there. And that's likely where I will take a target on my position. So we'll see what happens with that one again. And last but not least, let's take a look at some of the options activity that we were seeing today. All right. So we have here, we're going to filter for $1 million orders and above. Oh, wow. And you can see after market close, a lot of puts coming in for IWM. And we talked about it earlier where IWM is not really leading anymore. So this is pretty interesting. Yeah, a lot of puts coming down the pipe. Let's see, an Amazon order, ENPH. We talked about this one yesterday, putting on our bullish position. We're seeing some May calls come in at a 270 strike. So this one, I do have my position in there. I'm glad to see some confirmation from the options market. We have some Apple calls coming in. I still have my March Apple calls. Let's see what Apple did today. And yeah, you can see a nice little bounce in Apple. Nothing too crazy. We'll have to see where this one goes. Hopefully we can, get back to that high point. I bought my calls on this day right here when it closed at that new all-time high. And, I pretty much, no big deal. I just bought the top in Apple. So, yeah, luckily I bought the March calls. So I'm down to about like 28% on those calls. And that's why I like using the longer term options a lot of times because, you don't get shaken out of a position if you get a little bit of a pullback. So we'll see what happens with Apple here. And then Tesla, of course, there's call buyers. And then LMT. I believe this is Lockheed Martin, right? Yeah. So the aerospace and defense has been really weak. I guess it makes sense if you think there's going to be a Democratic sweep, maybe less military spending, and a call buyer I see is coming in to buy the dip. That's not really one I'd be interested in given this pattern. But that about does it for our options activity. I am going to be posting, as always, my Cheddarflow affiliate link in the description to this video if you're interested in doing a 7-day trial of Cheddarflow. That being said, that about does it for today's market recap video. Hope you all had a great trading day, and I will see you all tomorrow.